Good day and welcome. I'm very happy to be the one actually trying to reckon your curiosity through the newspaper review on Idea Television today. And you all know I am Jacobs Deborah, and with me in the house is our able the law, Barrister Damisi. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm very fine. It's good to be here once again.
Thank you very much for gracing us with your presence.
Yes.
I always say that you cannot be overemphasized. But thank you very much. And to all our viewers out there who took our time to actually come in to listen, welcome to your newspaper review. And without taking much of your time, we'll be going deeply into our newspaper review. And the first newspaper we'll be looking at is the Blueprint newspaper, where we see the NIMET alerts on flood in Benue, Taraba, Benue, KB, Bauchi in the next 3 days. We have seen that the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has warned Adamawa, as well as Taraba, Benue State, Kebbi State, Bauchi State, that there will be a likelihood of flooding in the next 3 days. The agency attributes this likely flooding to present a rainfall recorded in the state. It also noted that there is a high possibility of flood occurring over parts of Bauchi and Kebbi states during the forecast period. I think this warning from NIMET is a crucial and timely one. It's actually a good one. It's not news actually, that flooding has actually eaten up some of our states in Nigeria, most of our states in Nigeria. Lagos, for example, last week we also had flooding in Lagos. It's a good thing that there is a caution before time, or there's a news that comes that would actually help you get prepared before a disaster falls on you. Now, this disaster cannot actually be, it's not preventable. These are disasters that are natural and they happen, right? Now, the only thing we can do is prepare well. For me, we are tired of hearing news of this kind of news, and the next week we meet another news of flood destroying houses and properties. As this kind of news comes, I feel like it's just like there's an intel for you before you go into battle. They tell you this is what your enemy is planning, this is what and they give you a full intel on what your enemy is doing. The next thing you should do or the normal thing you should do as a person is to actually get ready for that battle. And there's every possibility, out of 100%, I think there should be an 80% possibility that you should win. Because you've heard of it. But we still see situations where Nigeria is suffering from serious flooding.
Yes, it's a good one, like you said, that we are being warned of the floods, the states Adamawa, Benue, parts of Bauchi, Kebbi, that they are being warned of the flood. But to go into what your question or your curiosity, one of the reasons why some of these persons cannot just take the warnings is that they will ask themselves, where do I go to? Where do I run to? Some of them might not even hear these warnings, So we also have to ask, how are these warnings being communicated to these affected communities? Are they really aware that floods is reaching their side? These are rural communities. Some of them are very, very rural communities. And they will not just be aware, in Western countries, when there's an alert of flood and all of that, people move from that state, people move from that location. The government helps people to actually move from these locations. So in Nigeria, the warnings have come, some individuals will just look, what do I do? Do I flee to another community? Do I flee to another state? Some of them will just say, look, let's just brace for the floods that are coming, and let's just see what we can do. But like you said, it's a very, very good thing that we have an agency that warns people of flood, because water is one of the most destructive natural phenomenon, especially when it's not controlled and all of that. When floods come in, destroys a lot of properties. You might be shocked next week now, hopefully not so, but from the previous experiences, you can begin to hear 2 or 3 persons have died as a result of flash floods, as a result of flooding rather, and all of that. This one is a natural occurrence, rainfall. We cannot tell God to stop rainfall.
We even need it in this period of time for agriculture.
We even need it in this.
But to cut you there, right?
Yeah.
I actually feel like you said that most of this information don't get to people, right?
Yeah.
Now, this information gets to the local government. What is our local government doing
Yes.
to actually put in place policies that can stop or build drainages that can
Yes.
actually reduce this flooding issue. It can be reduced, like I
Yes.
said, it can be worked on.
Yes.
The fact that there's an agency that shows or tells us before time,
Yes.
there should be a way to actually stop this, a long-term
A long term.
policy.
You see, some of this rainfall, when they come, when rainfall comes, one of the reasons why some of these floods look so big and heavy is because of, like you said, no drainages. There are no human means to actually reduce the effects of these floodings. Drainages are being stocked with a lot of sewages. A lot of dirt around. So these are the things that local governments need to actually look into. This is where the local government comes into play. But for a while, most of our local government, the 774, most of them are really dormant. They don't really do much work, and much is left to either the state government or the federal government. But this is us now calling on the state government to actually begin to look at these communities, look at these areas, and begin to see how they can mitigate the severity of these floods, so that we don't have a situation where people lose their lives, lose their properties, lose their farmlands and all of that as a result of the floods.
So it is important that the government or the local government and communities take these alerts seriously and mobilize resources to mitigate the impact. And also the ongoing investments in better drainage infrastructure as well as flood management systems that are essential to reduce such risks in the long term. Now moving on to the next newspaper front page is the Guardian newspaper, and we see that congestion asset depreciation push NHIS business to Eco's Atlantic City. We also see that Biodun Daniel breaks over demolition notice on property. Beside it, we see that new constitution, Senate welcomes recommendation at public hearing. And also in page 4, we see that Atiku Falana kicks as NYSC defense withheld certificates. We also see beneath it in page 3 that the US condemns killing of Christians in Nigeria and vows decisive action. We also see in page 4 that the landmark vaccine trials raises hope for cancer patients. And EFCC raids the hotel in Obasanjo Library. Management threatens to lawsuit. We also see a crackdown widens as ADC coalition is to Shakaru allies and consider review a new platform. The next newspaper front page we'll be looking at is the Tribune newspaper front page, where we see the Senate factors to consider before approving a new state. Now, when I saw this, the first question I wanted to actually ask, out of my curiosity, are there legal factors to consider?
Legal factors, they are not really legal factors to consider per se when you want to make new states. They are just legal provisions needed for the approval of the state. What I mean is that to approve it, to get a state approved, you need to go through the National Assembly, which is the Senate and the House of Reps.
Okay.
Present why these states need to be created. Then the National Assembly will pass the bill for the creation of this new state. The president will assent to it. Then state houses of assembly will also assent to it. But when you talk of factors that you needed, so many factors can come into play. Some people will say, oh, we are being marginalized in our own state where we are, so we need to create. These are not legal factors per se. Some people will say, oh, we need to create a new state so that governments can be closer to the people more. State governments can be closer to the people more. So many small factors like that. And some people will say, oh, the state is too big. We are so populated. Our landmass is big. One person cannot be governor of the entire landmass. So these are the factors that have been presented to the National Assembly for them to consider. But looking at the number of
states we already have
36 states.
We've not been able to actually put things in place with those states. So how possible is it that we will be able to put in place when it gets increased?
Yes, when that's one of the issues we are looking at. We have 36 states now, plus the federal capital territory. So we have like 37 territories. So I really don't see the reason for much more state creation. I really don't see the reason. Some people, I think the Southeast has only 5 states, so they are looking at creating another state to make them 6 so that they can come with other geopolitical zones. So that's one of the reasons why they want to create an Myanmar state or so. Some other states are looking at we need our state is too big, it's too populated, so we need to cut off some more states. So it's just left for the National Assembly to look at these new developments and see if. But I think about 11 or 12 states are really being considered. 11 or 12 states. So within the next, maybe let's say 10 years, I believe that within the next 10 years, there might be 3 or 4 states being created, carved out of other states, because the National Assembly is really considering making provisions for more states. I believe that within the next 10 years, 3 or 4 states would have been carved out of the present states in Nigeria.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
In other headlines, banditry, police deploy squad to Kwara community in page 4 of that Tribune newspaper front page. And in another headline, we see that 2027 PDP may unveil zoning formula August 25. We also see that in 2027, Niger Delta will support only Tinubu, PAP boss says in page 4. And strike, health workers to get 7-month salary arise for August and the rest of the other months, the federal government has come out to say in page 4. We also see in health, exercise can help fight breast cancer. Federal government, fresh warning, states mobilize against flooding. And also 2027 Niger Delta will support only Tinubu, Otuara says. We also see that Tax Reform Act will cripple our operation in 48 hours. AON has come out to say. And the big headline, we see that sugar importation rises as local production filters. That's a big one. I think that was upper week. We're talking about the same thing. Africa being the biggest sugar export country, and all of that. It's a good thing that we are actually trying to build up what we have to be able to make up for the things instead of importing and importing. Now, this would lead to this particular story on the Punch newspaper, where we see that India buys Nigerian crude oil as Dangote imports US oil in page 20. The reason why I am leading it to this, now in one hand, we are saying that sugar is a good product that we have to export. But when it comes to oil, we see that we still import, and yes, we still export. We've seen that there's an increase, that India has come out to buy barrels of oil, but we still see a situation where Nigeria, let me say Dangote, down to Dangote refinery, still getting from US. And I stop to wonder why this is happening.
So there might be various factors we should begin to look at as a people, as Nigerians, is that we need to start exporting more. And so Dangote refinery, Nigeria needs to find a way to make our crude accessible to him so he can refine and also export. And also we ourselves as Nigerians, we can also get this produce for our own consumption, so we don't need to import.
To see that India is coming in, it shows that what we are exporting is good.
Is good, yes.
For it to be bringing international businesses, it shows that Nigeria has moved from just importing for it locally, but internationally. Yeah. Now we want to come to a state where it would work. What do you think can be done that this whole thing, the government can actually come together and actually really, because these things we're tired of hearing it and saying it again and again. We said it last week, we're saying it again this week. Only God know how long we'll keep saying this. And Dangote too has been saying it again and again. He wants to come to a point where Nigeria would not need to import. She would have her own oil, refine it and export, so that this whole poverty thing and money imbalance would actually reduce.
Yes. So these are the issues that the government needs to look at. Importation for any nation like we said last week, cannot actually be exterminated. There will definitely be need for you to import.
Of course.
You can't produce everything. There will need for you to collaborate with. But importation can definitely be reduced. Nigeria imports way too much than it exports. One of the things that we need to look inward, really. We need to look inward. We need to look, how do we grow capacity in ourselves as a nation for us to begin to export? We're talking about sugar. That other headline was talking about the fact that we are still importing sugar, despite the fact that the sugar local production we need to look at how we get local production up, local production in our agricultural sector, in our oil sector. We need to look for small and medium scale enterprises. I was always saying something last week about small and medium scale enterprises. We need to look at how we can make them grow bigger. It's from these SMEs that you begin to generate large scale businesses. When you support the small and medium scale enterprises, maybe you support like 100. Out of this 100, maybe 10 of them will become large companies that will begin to. These are how companies develop. The Chinese, 40, 50 years ago, nobody was hearing about Chinese. Nobody was hearing about the Asian tigers. But look at them now. They looked inward. Something as simple as textile, that is clothes.
Yes.
They just took an aspect of their textile industry, said, let us focus on textile, let us employ people. Now they are exporting clothes up and down, exporting clothes all over the world. Before those days, we were calling China, anything that is China is a fake product. You say, hey, you don't go buy China. Fake
China?
Is China, fake product. But now look at China, they are major exporters of produce and all of that. So we need to look inward basically and grow our production capacity.
So beyond being or bringing our trophies back in the sports world, we want to look into come to a position where that we would be importing, we would be exporting more than we are importing. It's a reminder that we have to resolve our energy challenges and producing more oil, but not only in producing more oil, but improving in domestic infrastructure, supply chain and pricing mechanism to address imbalance in Nigeria. The next newspaper front page we'll be looking at is the Daily Independent newspaper, where we see how Nigerians manufacturers are weathering the economic storm. Now, this story, we see that Nigerian manufacturing sector, once seen as a key driver of industrialization, job creation and exports, is bulking under crushing interest rates of 27.5% inflation at 34.2% unstable power supply, raising energy costs and weakened naira. Manufacturers facing a shrinking demand and soaring input costs warns that without urgent reform, such as affordable credit and reliable electricity and Forex access, the country risks a mass industrial collapse, job losses exceeding 3,000 and even deeper economic stagnation, despite government programs like Export Expansion Grant and Nigerian Industrial Revolution Plan. Poor implementation and microeconomic instability would leave these factories shuttering and relocating to a friendlier market. This is what we're saying. I think this is what we've been saying all through. And most of the newspapers' headlines, where from one headline to another, is just leading to this particular headline. It's leading to this particular headline, just telling us how much we need, how much we are suffering locally because of our increase in importation, how much we are suffering locally because we don't have facilities good enough to actually house this importation in our own country.
So, you see, this is one of the issues, and I think we mentioned it. Also, the previous headline that you read out. We are talking about poor infrastructure. I mean, we're a country of 200 million people, and we cannot boast of even 10,000 megawatts. We are still dealing with 5,000, 6,000 megawatts. Our power grid failing. These are infrastructure issues, are one of the major issues that we need to look at. If you want to if you want to call yourself a producing country, you cannot be talking of you producing less than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. How will the factories operate? Will they be operating on diesel, or on fuel. No, these are the issues you need to look at as a country for you to have a production capacity, to make yourself a producer. You're talking about inflation being 27%. I mean, inflation being 27%, that's huge. Inflation is high. Then you now look at businesses. That's what I usually say to entrepreneurs. I say you people are superheroes because
Of course.
running a business in Nigeria is a huge risk. Is a huge risk. We have some advantages, but the disadvantages too
Are
there
more.
are too much.
They're
So
more.
we just need to improve. If government can just concentrate on one sector, electricity.
At a time.
If one sector.
Data for about 1.7 billion 1.17 billion dollars. The deal would give Rumble the control of Norton Data with big data centers and powerful GPU computer chips, which are essential for running AI programs. Norton Data board is reviewing the offer and is open for talk. The deal would mean Norton Data's current owner would get a share in Rumble, owning about 1/3 of the combined company. Rumble biggest shareholder supports the deal and might keep buying GPU from Rumble after the purchase. This deal isn't guaranteed yet, but the change before will be finalized. Actually, before announced will be finalized soon. This is, like I said, this is something we want to hear. Hearing that the tech world, I can't wait. Sincerely, I can't wait to start hearing Nigeria. We always see, most of the time we see the US, China,
Europe.
Europe, thank you, UK. When are we going to start seeing Nigeria?
Hopefully soon. Last time we spoke about Nigeria, a Nigerian company acquiring a data center. We spoke about MTN trying to build a data center. So hopefully Africa, Nigeria catches up with the rest of the world. You can see that companies are beginning to look at how to expand their own AI network and AI reach. See, buying a US company is buying another AI company, a data center in Germany. These are things that people in the Western world are looking to. Either you collaborate, either you partner, or you buy out another existing business or another existing company to expand your own reach. AI is taking over, like we always say. And then people are beginning to think in that direction. Governments and businesses are thinking in that direction as well. Nigeria too, we need to also start thinking in that direction. Our companies need to start thinking in that direction as well.
Now, to my favorite, one of my favorites, like I said, I think that was on the 8th of this month.
Yes.
Libutan was issued a letter from President Donald Trump that he should actually submit his resignation letter because of his ties with Chinese tech companies and shares that he has bought in most of these companies. And the stakeholders in this particular in the US has believed that this would actually take his attention there more than in their business there in the US. And now he has decided today that he's going to actually go into to visit Donald Trump in the White House. What do you think about this situation? When I see the back and front, but I feel like I don't want to say business is business, but I am forced to say it. I feel like business is business. If a businessman would actually be able to do business with other people and still do business with you, I don't think that should be an issue.
One of the issues that governments have, business also interlocks with state security, state assets, if Intel is a very, very big organization, and Libutan being the CEO of Intel, it's also the U.S. government will also say we need to be cautious. It's just like a person being the CEO of maybe Dangote. You know how precious Dangote is to Nigeria. Not just Dangote himself, but being maybe the CEO of Dangote Cement. The Nigerian government want to know who is the president, who is the CEO of Dangote, or being the CEO of Zenith Bank. So the U.S. is trying to watch, like President Donald Trump now might be trying to watch and interfere in what happens with, and I think they've laid accusations on him. You know, he's a Chinese American.
Yes, that's what
He's
I'm
a
saying.
Chinese
That
American,
I feel
and
like he's scared.
yes,
He's
so
scared that he
so
might.
they said he has invested in some Chinese companies, and
Yes.
it serves as like a conflict of interest between the Chinese
People
people and
the
the
US.
American people. So he has only been there for about 5, 6 months.
6 months,
Thereabouts, yeah.
actually. He has been on seat for 6 months.
6 months,
Just 6 months.
President Donald Trump is saying, look, my friend, you can't be investing in Chinese companies and being a CEO of one of our biggest.
biggest.
But let's see
Yeah.
how far it goes. He's going to visit the White House. Let's see if they can be able to resolve
And work on it.
and work on it, because it's a big issue. And I like the step that the CEO is taking. As when he was told to resign by the US president, he didn't run away, he didn't cower. He said, let me go and meet President Donald Trump, explain my side of the story, tell him that I'm a man of integrity and I can run this business very well, not to the detriment of the US national security.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And thank you to all our viewers. We have come to a big end to our newspaper review today. We would be meeting you again tomorrow, same time, same station. Do well to glue to your screen, for more information and more insightful programs after this. Thank you very much to our guest for coming.
Thank you for
and like I would always say, stay informed, stay safe. Bye for now.